Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to talk about entire agreement clauses. This is a very important clause that you should ensure is always in every contract that you enter into. What is an entire agreement clause? It is a clause stating that everything that has been agreed between the parties is contained in the four corners of the contract. In other words, all previous discussions, negotiations, or promises are excluded in the contract. This is essentially to prevent the parties from relying on previous agreements, previous negotiations or discussions that have not been drafted in the agreement. So in other words, you want to prevent a party to a contract from subsequently saying, oh, before I signed the agreement, you promised to do this. You said you would do that. You said I don't need to do this. You said that I don't have to pay this. It is to prevent such allegations. It's also to prevent allegations of misrepresentation to enter into a contract. Because once you exclude all representations, you have an entire agreement clause to exclude all previous representations. The other party will find it very difficult to make allegations that you have made representations to induce them into and signing the contract. So, a typical entire agreement clause would read something along the lines of, this agreement contains the whole agreement between the parties relating to the transactions provided in this agreement, and supersedes and cancels all previous agreements between such parties in respect of such matters, and each of these parties to this agreement acknowledges that in agreeing into this agreement, it has not relied on any representations or warranties except for those contained in this agreement. The court in the famous English case of Entrepreneur Park stated, the purpose of an entire agreement clause is to preclude a party to a written agreement from thrashing through the undergrowth and finding in the course of negotiations some chance remark or statement, often long forgotten or difficult to recall or explain, upon which to start a lawsuit, because such a clause constitutes a binding agreement between the parties that the full contractual terms are to be found in the document containing the clause and nowhere else. And therefore, any promises or assurances made during the course of the negotiations have no contractual effect unless they have been incorporated into that contract. The Singapore High Court in IBM Singapore and Unique, Justice Tay Yong Kwang stated that entire agreement clauses effectively erased any legal consequences that might have ensued from prior discussions or negotiations, and that the contractual relationship between the parties was now circumscribed by the signed agreements and those alone, nothing else. Everything else is excluded. So, before signing a contract containing an entire agreement clause, you should always check that the document, the contract, contains all the terms made during the discussions, whether oral or written. If somebody promises you something, somebody promises not to do something, somebody says you don't have to do something, always make sure every term is included into the agreement. There is no such thing as based on trust. If there's any term that you would like to have included in the contract but it's not in the contract, you should ask the other party to insert it in, because entire agreement clause prevents you from later alleging that the other party promised you something else. So thanks for watching this video on entire agreement clauses.